Around the same time as the Academy Awards, there is another award show that acts as a counter. The Golden Raspberry Awards, or Razzies, are not intended as awards for the best movies of the year, but the worst movies of the year. They were first developed in 1981 by publicist John Wilson. He became inspired to make these awards after being dismayed by the 1980s movies Xanadu and Can't Stop the Music. Angered by these bad movies, he decided to dole out bad movie awards in his living room with his friends acting as the voters. The event was held the night of the Academy Awards and continues to be hosted close to that same date. News agencies picked up on Wilson's ceremony and reported on this novel idea of giving awards to bad movies. In the years that followed, the Razzies grew to such a degree that they received just as much press coverage as most awards ceremonies. In 1988, the Golden Raspberry started handing out physical awards, with the raspberry spray-painted gold and supposedly set by the organization to have a street value of $4.97. These trophies became a tradition after Bill Cosby demanded one after winning for his 1987 film Leonard Part 6. He was presented the award on Fox's The Late Show, and the trophies have become a regular thing since. And on its surface, this might seem like a funny idea as counter-programming to the Oscars. But the truth is that the Razzies are terrible, and not just in like an all awards shows are terrible kind of mindset. Here's why. Unlike other awards organizations, the Razzies are not specifically relegated to any particular group of critics or creatives. Anybody can vote in the Razzies, so long as they pay an annual fee of $40 and then $25 every year after that. You can additionally pay more money to sign up more of your friends, with the highest tier being a lifetime membership at $500. Benefits include access to forums, t-shirts, and bragging rights, which the official website touts as, quote, "Your friends and rivals will know your opinion actually matters." Yeah, or they'll know that you paid $40 to vote in a poll that anybody can join. The founders of the Razzie voting process, those being John Wilson and Maureen Murphy, have said this paid system keeps the voting process open to anybody and thus is more democratic. But according to an interview they did with Vulture, the primary demographic of its voters is between the ages of 18 and 25. In other words, it's mostly college students voting for bad movies. The Razzie Awards go beyond just awarding Worst Picture, Worst Actor, and Worst Screenplay. Over the years, they've added various specialty categories to recognize certain trends. One of their most controversial additions was from the 2022 awards, in which they conceived the category Worst Bruce Willis Performance, based on the multiple films that Willis had appeared in during 2021. At the ceremony on March 26, 2022, voters decided on Cosmic Sin as his worst performance from that year. A few days later, on March 30th, Bruce's family revealed that the actor had been diagnosed with aphasia and would be retiring from acting as he was having difficulty with speaking and maintaining his memory. It was also revealed that Willis found himself confused while filming much of these movies, and had to have his lines fed to him through an earpiece. The Razzie organization felt bad about this and decided to pull the award for Willis. They also made an apology on Twitter and offered their best wishes for Bruce and his family. Okay, cool, but you know what would have been even better? Not making this category in the first place. Seriously, they did not need to make this award. None of the Bruce Willis films they nominated were major movies from 2021. They were all low-budget action trash that went straight to video and had very small theatrical engagements in other countries that hardly anybody attended. In case you're wondering, those films were American Siege, Apex, Cosmic Sin, Deadlock, Fortress, Midnight in the Switchgrass, Out of Death, and Survive the Game. Now, I ask you, do any of these films sound familiar to you from 2021? You would have to go out of your way to see any of these movies, let alone be so mad about them that you'd have to make an entire Razzie category for them. In addition to picking on actors who are struggling to work with aphasia, the Razzies have also had a habit of targeting underage actors. Because the Golden Raspberries didn't set any limits on who could be nominated, children often became targets for nominations. These nominations have included Gary Coleman, Jake Lloyd, and Macaulay Culkin. Considering that children have very little say in the movies that they get to star in, not to mention how many of these actors suffer bullying and mistreatment because of these roles, nominating children just seemed like it was crossing the line. This bullying reached a fever pitch at the 2023 awards, where the 12-year-old Ryan Kira Armstrong was nominated for the remake of Firestarter. Prior to the award winners being announced, Armstrong was removed from the ballot after Drew Barrymore, star of the original Firestarter, spoke out against this targeting of young actors. Now, not only did the Razzies offer up an apology and decided to place an age limit on nominations for actors and actresses, they also did something very weird. Instead of going with the other nominations for Worst Actress, the Razzies decided to nominate themselves for being so terrible in this category, and then they ended up winning that award. And on one level, some might look at this act of self-deprecating humor as the organization showing their own humility. But in another sense, it's a showcase of how terrible the awards group has become in their nomination process. It only took the Razzies 42 years to realize that maybe nominating children in these categories is a bad idea. One of the strangest awards added to the ceremony in 2014 is the Razzie Redeemer Award. This is meant to be a sort of anti-Razzie award that recognizes when a particular individual or movie franchise has gone from being a Razzie regular to a more legitimately recognized talent. Sylvester Stallone, a frequent Razzie nomination for Worst Actor, won the Redeemer Award in 2015 for his work on Creed. The most recent recipient was Colin Farrell for his work on The Banshees of Inisherin, making up for his Razzie-nominated film Alexander in 2004. Yeah, thanks. I'm sure these actors are very grateful that their work is now acceptable in the eyes of people who paid $40 to vote for bad movies. Because of the organization's lack of oversight when it comes to voting and its dubious methods of amassing voters, the Razzies are not only a terrible organization, but in the age of social media, they're archaic. Now, true, in the early days, the Razzies were seen as subversive, but times have changed, and now there's no shortage of people online with platforms ready and willing to tell you which films sucked from last year. Liam Goggins said as much in the Dallas Observer, stating, quote, "It's easy to find fault in any awards nominations, be it Oscars or Razzies. But the greater issue that the Razzies face is that making fun of bad movies is no longer original. Film criticism essays and satire all live in abundance on the internet, from both established publications and non-professionals. The Razzies has transformed into an aged and desperate display of trying to remain relevant in their talk of bad movies. But even worse, they have transformed into the very PR of award ceremonies they may have originally been trying to mock. Most of the attendees of the award view it the same way they view any awards show, and the Razzies are more than willing to bend over backwards for any celebrity that will come to their ceremonies. This was revealed when Sandra Bullock stated that she was guaranteed to win her award for Worst Actress in All About Steve, so long as she agreed to show up at the event. She also used the ceremony as a chance to chide her film's nomination for Worst Screen Couple, as she argued that the film does not portray her or her co-star as a couple. And at its worst, the Razzies have emboldened the worst people to keep being terrible. This was the case with right-wing propagandist Dinesh D'Souza winning 3 Razzie Awards for his erroneous documentary Hillary's America: The Secret History of the Democratic Party. When Dinesh won, he gave an acceptance speech about how this was exactly what he wanted. Quote, "The reason you are giving it to me is because you are very upset that Trump won. You haven't gotten over it. You probably never will. This kind of award is really good for my career. See, if I'd gotten an Oscar, I'd be done. I couldn't make another movie. My audience wouldn't even show up. They'd have thought I would have become one of you. To win a Razzie being dissed by you guys? This is absolutely fantastic. My audience loves the fact that you hate me." The Razzies are no longer some anti-establishment awards show to clown on bad movies. And to be clear, my criticism of the Razzies is not some stanning of this year's nominations. I did not like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I did not enjoy Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And for as much as I mildly enjoyed the weirdness of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I am not going to die on any hills for that movie. I don't particularly love any of these films, but decrying them again just seems like a waste of time, especially with something as pathetically decaying as the Razzies. Like, seriously, what are these awards even mocking at this point, considering how scattershot they are? They're not specifically mocking big Hollywood blockbusters because they gave multiple nominations to Blood and Honey, a trash horror movie made by public domain opportunists who probably love all this attention. They're not specifically mocking high and mighty actors because they've targeted children and those with medical conditions. They're not even taking filmmakers down a peg because provocative garbage people like D'Souza just crave that that attention. And even if you just have a love of seeing bad movies getting bashed, let's be real about what the Razzies are offering. It's a consensus among a group of mostly college students who are duped into paying at least $40 for the chance to vote on a bad movie. And yes, bad movies deserve to be called out, but not by something as irrelevant, toothless, and stumblingly mean as the Razzies. The t-shirts sold on the Razzies website come branded with the phrase, "Own your bad." But to quote a Tyler Perry movie title, you can do bad all by yourself.